Fuller. Zachary, if you could unmute and just let me know who you're representing here today, whether you're the member of the applicant owner team or neighboring property owner or someone else.
Neighboring property owner.
Okay, great. Welcome. And we have Matt Lashad joining us now, who is a member of the planning department and prepared a staff report in preparation for the hearing today. All right. As he's getting checked in, I'm going to go ahead and read through our hearing script. This just covers the procedure for the hearing, and then we'll get started. So this is the January 29th, 2025 session of the zoning hearing examiner docket. Again, my name is David Sturkey. I'm the zoning hearing examiner for the city. I'll be presiding over the hearing. Case before us today is case number ZH20240168. That's 6266 Orchard Lane. The purpose of this hearing is to allow applicants and any other parties to testify and to offer and refute evidence and testimony. This hearing will follow the rules found in the zoning code and the supplemental rules of the zoning hearing examiner. All testimony and evidence that an applicant or any other party wishes to offer must be presented at this hearing. The hearing will proceed as follows. The applicant, the applicant's attorney, or the applicant's agent will first present the applicant's case. For our purposes here today, I'll allow Ms. McKenzie to tell me about the project, any background that's important, the relief that she's requesting, and then, of course, why she believes that relief is appropriate. I'll then give members of the public, again, for our purposes here today, that'll be Mr. Fuller to provide any testimony at that time. I'll then turn it over to Mr. Lashad to provide any testimony in addition to a staff report. In the event that any party testifies or offers argument in opposition to this application, the applicant will have an opportunity to respond to that testimony offered in opposition. And finally, the applicant will have an opportunity to make any closing statements. After all presentations have been made, I will close the hearing. Decisions may be expected within 2 weeks. I may limit or exclude any testimony that I deem to be irrelevant or outside the scope of the application being considered. I may interrupt any speaker to ask questions or to make any comments. In the event of any technical difficulties, I'll do my best to troubleshoot those issues on the fly, but to the extent there's a defect that prevents us from meaningfully going forward with this hearing, I may continue or postpone the hearing at my discretion. Okay, last thing I need to do is just swear in all of our witnesses. So if you intend on providing any testimony here today, I'll need you to make sure that you are off mute, raise your right hand, and answer out loud. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you shall provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
I do.
I do.
Okay, great. Thanks, everyone. Ms. McKenzie, are you ready?
I am.
Yours.
Thank you for hearing our case this morning. My husband and I have lived at 6266 Orchard Lane for approximately 11 years now and have figured that this is probably where we're planning to spend the rest of our years. So I've been promising my husband a detached garage for probably at least 6 of those years. So we are attempting to make that happen this year. The main purpose of this project is to provide a 2-car detached garage with some additional storage space for his hobbies. He fixes cars with his brother, all that fun stuff. And while we're at it, again, thinking long term, we're hoping to provide a little additional space upstairs in the garage to either fit out now or in the future, depending on cost, as a home office for him with some additional space for guests when we have them. He works from home, so just having a little extra elbow room is, I think, would be very valuable. We are seeking about a 1.5 foot increase in the allowable height for this type of project. We expect that the project will actually be about 9 inches taller than zoning code allows, but to allow for variances in the truss manufacturing and setting on site, just asking for a little bit extra just to make sure that we don't end up over what we asked for to begin with. We are also hoping to build a deck with like a low profile deck, so not even high enough to require railings or anything, with a gazebo as part of this project. So that portion does put us over the allowable square footage as well. So that is the origin of that request. So again, just hoping to realize this project, knowing that we plan to be in this house for quite a long time.
Okay, great. Anything else you'd like to say now before I turn it over to the public?
I'll just note that we did reach out to all of our adjacent neighbors to make them aware of our plans, and also reached out to Kennedy Heights Council Mary Ray is leads up that charge, and she is in full support of the plans as well.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot. Let's go ahead and turn it over to Mr. Fuller. Mr. Fuller, anything you wanted to add to the conversation here?
Yeah, hi. To be honest, I'm mainly here just because I'm curious about the whole process, but I do have the plan in front of me that Allison provided. So our kind of extended backyard is adjacent to your property. And I think my only concern, which is a super small concern, but I saw there was a exterior walkway kind of up the back side of the garage. So I guess my only concern is if there's a light kind of above the door there, if I don't know if this is the right platform to make a request, but if that could be like a motion activated light, because it is kind of nice to preserve the darkness back in between the Bantry and the orchard properties.
Allison, do you want to
Would
respond to
it
that now?
be okay for me to respond to that? Yeah,
Sure.
sure. Yeah, we are required to have a light on that because it's a stair, but we are absolutely amenable to making sure that's off unless someone's using those stairs, whether that's a motion sensor or some other lighting control. My husband loves playing with gadgets, so I'm sure we can find something that will make sure that that does not come on when not in use.
Okay, yeah, my main worry is like those super bright white LED lights, as yeah, I can see you're probably aware of those. So awesome, thank you.
Yeah, and
All right.
what we've specified, we we have specified a light that's like a downlight, so I don't think it will cast far, but even so, happy to make sure that those go off.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
So when you say a downlight, does that mean there'll be some shielding from the light emitting onto neighboring properties? Is that right?
Yes, it's very directional. Specifically, picked a light that only shines light. Doesn't even go like 90 degrees to horizontal. It goes basically to 45 degrees. So we're keeping it as much on the property as we possibly can to begin with.
Great. Mr. Fuller, anything else you wanted to say?
Nope, that's it. Yeah, thanks for keeping that in mind, Allison.
Of course.
All right, great. Mr. Lashad, would you like to add anything?
Sure. Yeah. Well, thank you to Ms. McKenzie and Mr. Fuller for being here. I think that's kind of the benefit of these hearings is little opportunities for conversation like that. The applicant is requesting a variance to allow larger accessory structures. The code limits them to 800 square feet, and then a height variance of 1 foot 6 inches to allow a garage with a height to the midpoint of 16 feet 6 inches. With that, we look at, are there any unusual circumstances about the property that would justify a variance beyond what the code typically allows? For this project, I would say yes. For the height variance, the Cincinnati zoning code was recently updated to allow accessory dwelling units and was specifically updated to allow accessory dwelling units above garages with a full story. And if it were permitted as an accessory dwelling unit right now, the building could be 25 feet tall. So they would not need a variance. It would be well within that limit. The reason that a variance is necessary is because, from my understanding, the applicant intends to do a phased approach where it may be built out as storage area, as habitable space, but not a dwelling unit. It may be a dwelling unit in the future, but it's not being permitted as such right now. That's the only reason a variance is necessary. If it were being permitted as an ADU right now, they would not need a variance. And
Is that just for the height, Matt?
yes.
Do they still need a variance for the size?
No. The accessory dwelling units limitations allow the size to be up to 15% of the lot area, which I did the math, it's in the staff report, that's over 2,000 square feet. They would not need a variance for that either. And the request is minimal. It's 1.5 feet. Like Ms. McKenzie said, it may only be 9 inches. The design of the garage is compatible with the architecture of the home and the neighborhood. And I don't think there would be any adverse impacts. The setbacks for the proposed garage are greater on the side. The requirement is 3, and proposal, I think, is 5. And it's much greater in the rear. It could be 3 feet from the rear property line, and it's proposed to be over 20. So, with those greater setbacks, having a slight increase in height would not negatively impact neighbors. Looking at the square footage, the property is a little bit unusual in its layout in that the driveway circulates around it. It's a great feature because the house looks really nice from the street, and then you've still got an attached garage in the back. But with that, there's blacktop circulating the home, so it's a little bit more difficult to have a deck with green space all around it, like a lot of residential homes already enjoy. So I think it's reasonable to request to have a deck with grass around it. That's a substantial property right for other residential homes in the area. And small gazebo that's just maybe a foot or two above grade. Again, I don't have any concerns that this would be a negative impact on the neighborhood because of its modest size and substantial setbacks. So for all those reasons, staff is happy to recommend approval.
Great. Thanks, Matt. Thanks for your testimony and your work on the staff report. Okay, Ms. McKenzie, anything you'd like to say in response to comments from Mr. Fuller or Mr. Lashad, or anything in closing or otherwise before we adjourn here today?
I don't think so. Just appreciate the staff's report and recommendation, and appreciate Zach coming in and expressing his concern.
Great. I think we'll leave it at that. I've had a chance to review the application materials and the staff reports. Based on that and based on the testimony that I've heard here today, I agree with the recommendation of the staff report that it would be impractical to strictly enforce the zoning code to this particular application. And so based on that, I am going to approve the application. I will look into the possibility of maybe including a condition that there is some shielding of light for neighboring properties. And so that will be included in a written decision that I will need to produce to make this official. As soon as I finish that, I put into a PDF and I'll email it to everybody who's in the hearing here today. And so you all have a copy of that really just moments after it's complete. Ms. McKenzie, as soon as you have that, I think, as you know, you've been through this process before, Mr. Lashad can approve the zoning permitting and you can take the next steps.
Awesome. Thank you to everyone.
Sure. Any questions about any of that or anything else we did here today? I mentioned at the beginning, these typically take about 2 weeks. My wife is due with our second child on February 8th. And so I anticipate having it within 2 weeks as long as there's no early arrivals. And so if that's the case, I'll do my best to get notice to you guys and let you know, or see if someone can cover that for me. But otherwise, you'll see an email from me in the next couple of weeks. Hope you all have a great day. Good luck with the project, Ms. McKenzie, and we're adjourned.